I'm really, really excited because we managed to get Rebecca and Daniel on this episode today.
Welcome,
Yay.
welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so let's get the ball rolling.
Beautiful office, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. So Yah-Leng, want to start off with the first burning question?
Sure. So, I'm just going to go straight to the point. So what motivated y'all to start Beyond the Vines? And I love the name Beyond the Vines, by the way.
Okay.
So maybe you could help our audience understand a little bit more about what you do.
You want to go first?
I sign checks.
That is true.
Okay.
He counts.
I have a very lonely job in the office. No one to talk to. No one would understand what I do.
But I can give you my name and you can send me a check.
He will sign it. That's the gist of it. That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly. I do creative work in the office. I lead a team of designers and creatives. So he manages the business part, I manage the creative side.
I basically do the things that she doesn't want to do lah.
So for the fans, for new fans who may not have learned too much about Beyond the Vines yet, maybe you can give your version of what Beyond the Vines is.
I think Beyond the Vines, when we started the brand in 2015, we wanted to create a brand that designed we wanted to create a brand that did products, well-designed products at accessible price points, accessible locations, and accessible to all. Of course, what that means, we also learned that along the way. You know, I don't think that we started right at the start having this grand plan, this huge business plan. I think none of that, honestly. I think how he has evolved also in the last 5 years.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think we, honestly,
No,
we would say this. Okay.
We don't have a plan.
Tell people that.
Our plan is just to have fun.
Yeah, okay, we have a lot of fun. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of fun, right, doing what you do. That's most important, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that, that's most important for us. I think we have a good time, we enjoy what we do. I think people see it, from the work or whatever comes out.
From your Instagram story.
Oh my gosh, let's not go there yet. But, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about that because I find it quite interesting. A lot of business planners will say you must have a plan. You must know how you're going to differentiate yourself. You must run your cash flow. You must have this great big vision. But actually, for us, we didn't have a plan either.
We just brought our laptop, our iMacs. We just came back from the US and then we just okay,
Oh, wow.
Let's do
time
this.
to start work.
Yeah.
So for entrepreneurs out there, they have this amazing idea. Is a plan necessary?
Both yes and no. Depends on what industry you are at. I think that a lot of we face a lot of roadblocks not having plans, but I think that one of the key traits that both of us have is adaptability. The ability to adapt, the ability to change, the ability to constantly disrupt thoughts. I think that entrepreneurs at large don't have a plan because those who have plan are not entrepreneurs. Or well, at least that's what my opinion is. They plan too long and they think, and by the time before they really get down to it, they get burned out, they get jaded by the many different things that they need to do before they start. I think that is where I feel that a lot of ideas go to waste. So I think the entrepreneurs at large, we do not necessarily have a grand plan, but we have a direction that we want to pursue. We have a vision that we want to live out. And I feel that is something that when we started Beyond the Vines, we just wanted to put our best work out. Initially we wanted to be a design studio, that's what Becky said. Well-designed product being accessible to all. I think that's something that we learned along the way that, what does a well-designed product mean? What does accessibility means? And what does to all means? It just started off with some basic fundamentals that we started off with. And when the first sale happened, we realized that things got serious, but we still are playful. And I feel that Yeah, I think largely we both of us live with this concept that we have no one to please, nothing to prove, and we're living for ourselves. We live to put our best foot forward, and that's what we strongly believe in.
Okay. So yeah, in the last conversations that we shared, in the last two meetups, you talked about disrupting yourselves before other people do, right? So I'm really intrigued by that, and I really love that concept. Can you share more about that?
You go first.
Yes. Well, I don't think that. Okay, for me at least. Okay, we're both quite similar in that way. Like we do feel like we get. No, I won't say bored, but we don't like to. We're not status quo people. We like to learn, we like to grow. We're very adaptable. But I think the idea of disruption is not as if we intentionally disrupt ourselves in a way. It does come with a certain intuition of where we feel we're at, whether in life or where the business is and all that. Then there's a certain sensing that then sort of like conjures a certain intuition that makes us feel like, I think something needs to be done in that way. So it comes from a very human nature way for us, more than it is like we feel like we need to intentionally change something, or because I think that the emotion that comes with change is still there. It's not like we thrive on uncertainty. We still do feel like, at least I speak for myself, I still feel you get a bit uneasy when things change or new environments. I still feel a bit of that, emotion of it. But I think the fact that we identify that some things, when it comes to that time when we feel like something's not right anymore, it doesn't sit right anymore, it's not something, we're not effective, it's not or at least in terms of purpose-wise, we don't, because we're very purpose-driven people. So I do feel like if it doesn't, we don't feel very compelled by it at that moment, we feel like, it's time, something needs to happen. And then that seems like we're disrupting in a way.
Could you give us an example?
Well, so...
You can talk about your furniture at your home. It's never the same every 6 months.
No, it lasts a bit longer. 10 months. I shift stuff around. I like to shift things around. Not for feng shui or anything. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just, it's like a new environment. It sort of like evokes a new emotion, or like makes you see the same thing differently. Is it a creative thing? I don't know.
I do that.
I try not to think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. Whether that's obviously a very down to way of life way, but obviously with the rebrand, and we felt like it was a long time coming. And if anything, we felt like we pushed that back already for a while before we knew like, hey, we need to do it. It was already like, it first happened to the both of us before we felt it in a social trend or the economy way, so yeah. How about you, disruption? He likes to disrupt. He likes to.
Yeah, I think disruption. I think we have 7 core values in the company. Every other meeting, I sound like a broken tape recorder to every one of our colleagues in the office. So one of the core values is be ready for change. It might surprise you. I think that changes happen all the time, but values remain. Fundamentally, some values don't change. Change happens from the mindset first, I feel. Beginning to accept and embrace new things. Like for instance, when Instagram came out, everybody was still on Facebook, and everybody that I know mostly at large, this is Instagram, but look at how big Instagram is right now. The same for TikTok, the same for Clubhouse, right? I think that you do not need to understand how an aircon operates to enjoy the aircon. Which means that I feel that you don't need to fully understand how Clubhouse operates to fully enjoy Clubhouse, but just to really keep yourself open, keep yourself learning, keep learning and having that mindset that things are okay if they're going to change. It doesn't have to remain status quo. I think that happened during our branding. That's why we thought that it's time that I rather disrupt myself than the world disrupts and I follow that trend.
But you guys do that too. I mean, you guys are also believers of that, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about your...
Because you guys are very adaptable to trends. Like I noticed that, not just during the COVID part that you guys did this whole design diplomacy thing, but you're always evolving, always trying something new. but fundamentally it doesn't feel like your values change or how you approach how people interact with design and all that,
Yeah, I think you said it
Yeah.
very well for us. Yeah, I think we are quite similar in that sense. We always look for evolution.
Yeah.
Like you said, design cannot be a status quo
Yeah.
because it will just be a fossil in 6 months.
Yeah.
And as a designer, you're supposed to sort of lead the trend, create something new to excite
Yes.
people, engage people, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of our job, our responsibility, and our passion as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not? And I think for us, we also love clients or project partners, as we call them, to do that, and we encourage them to do that as well. Because sometimes they're coming to us for say a branding or rebranding project, and I mean, some people are a little bit more conservative, but we always try to push them out of the shell and let them see the light, like.
Yeah.
You need to do something different so that people can differentiate you and identify you as something a bit more valuable than the rest of your competitors.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting point of view. I was just thinking, in our trade, if a client comes in and a project partner becomes a project partner, typically I will take the first sense, is this person open to ideas or is he looking for us to replicate something and copy something? So we have the mechanism to sort of decide what would work best in the partnership. So we have a bit of a choice, kind of like it's like a mutual, it's like a date, right?
Yeah.
Both have to be willing partners. And interestingly, on your side is, I guess yours is a direct to consumer.
Yeah.
So
We're a little bit like online dating, probably.
yeah,
We're here. This is
right. This is my profile. Swipe left or swipe right.
We're probably a bit more. Yeah.
Maybe you should be on Tinder.
Maybe you should be on Tinder.
Yeah, I guess for us, because we're direct to consumer, versus your impact is first to the brand, right? Whereas we are technically the brand that is direct to consumer. I feel like the intent of not just the product, but the fundamentals of, because we determine how people use, right? We're actually at that layer.
Front end.
Yeah, we're actually at that layer of what we decide to put out. So there's a lot of thought process and integrity, right, to what we put out, and what kind of price point, what we put out, how much we're putting out. So I think that really hit us before we hit the rebrand. We felt like, do we still want to do this? Does it really feed our souls? Are we putting stuff out just for the sake of it? Do we have a voice that we feel like has impact, in the current generation, whether in design or whatever. So yeah, I think that sort of triggered the main rebrand exercise for us.
I think interestingly, back to the topic of disruption, if any of you have any opinions on like what do you do on a normal day-to-day to disrupt yourself, how do you change your thinking, maybe it would be great if you could share. They would love to hear how you disrupt your thoughts, because
In a way of life.
not like tomorrow I need to eat, go vegan or like change my diet, or not like a epiphany kind of way. Like what do you do on a normal day-to-day that you constantly disrupt yourself? Do you read something? Do you go
Is there like a trigger
Pinterest?
point? Do you guys feel like every day you want to you're 100% like also creatures of habit in a... You are quite a creature of habit.
Yeah. But I can speak to Yah-Leng how she does it. She's very feely. So she's the sensing is very intuitive and instantaneous. She feels it and she just articulates it, which I think is quite interesting. There's no need for a formal analysis, because she does this like micro analysis, intuition, woman's power, woman's sixth sense, and then she said, "That's the answer." So
But before they go to that sixth sense and intuition, I'm quite sure that somehow your mind collects data for you to triangulate certain thought process that leads you into that. Okay, this is it.
I think I'm quite updated with what's going on
Where do you get
maybe
updates from?
Not
Like,
as
is
not
it-
as updated, but
Is it Instagram?
yeah, Instagram. Like all the EDMs. I try to read, at least like scan them through. Yeah, like all the different news that are in the streams. I try to. Of course, sometimes it's like a bit of an overload, and I try to see what other people are doing as well.
On a broad, like
On a
across
broad-
industry.
Yeah, not just
okay.
the design industry
Yeah.
or the fashion industry,
Yeah.
but across industry. Like what's the trend? Say, let's say in the baby food
Yeah.
industry, you know.
Yeah.
Because these are telling signs of what's
Yeah.
happening also in the economy and the global trend as well, and that could maybe apply to another industry or ourselves. I don't know. So I think it's always that kind of update
Yeah.
that I get that collectively sort of like sits in my brain, and one day maybe it's like, oh yeah, maybe we could do this. Yeah. So
It's
I don't know.
almost like pixel art, right?
Yeah.
She collect the dots and dots
Yeah.
and dots. Suddenly you start to form a picture. Ah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these data, these to triangulate these data are pretty vital, and different people feed off different things and how it adds up. It's something that I feel that it's like an intuition.
Yes.
So like this saying, right, listen to your gut. A lot of times we ignore the gut and we start to doubt the gut. But I think my conversation with Becky constantly is always to doubt the doubt. To follow the gut, doubt the doubt. I think that is something that will be uniquely you and to the brand that no one can emulate after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to share that through our observations as service providers for a lot of the clients, past and present, I feel like the more successful clients are the ones who do not overthink and they just go with it. Those who like mull over very long and have too many changes, edits, are those that will not fit here or there, because I think they overthink too much, and then it's just not getting anywhere. I mean, I think it's just from my collective sort of observation throughout the years.
Yeah.
As for the branding, I think the rebranding is a conversation that is very big for you guys. So the question is, do you want to share with audiences with us who may not be as familiar with the rebranding process and why you felt it was super important to pull the trigger, and how has it been for you currently after the rebrand?
When you say pull the trigger, it's like,
I mean, I
like
think
there was an emotion. Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
just to supplement to his question. I think it was like, I think to the industry, right? It felt like, wow, such a brave act to like totally, like, you know, like your first Instagram and your new brand. You just put everything in the box and then you just kept it, right? That was a great storytelling, by the way. To totally like dive in a new direction, swim and surf, and now you're like, you know, in the ocean, you know, swimming in the ocean, was something quite remarkable, I would say. And yeah, how did you
do it?
Yeah.
I mean,
how do you get here?
I felt like it came in layers. It was not like we saw it from start to the end at one go. It definitely came first as, like he said, it first came as a that we felt it was necessary. But this was some time back already, right? We felt it maybe like 2 years ago. Before last year COVID happened, right? During the lockdown and all that. But we had that conversation over a few sit downs, you know, but between the both of us, just, you know, casually catching up. But yeah, at the same time, it didn't, because when we first started the brand, we started it with a certain value that we wanted the brand to effect, which was obviously, you know, we wanted to create well-designed products accessible to all. But at some point, we felt like the accessibility word or that value for us did not sit as we hoped it would as the brand sort of evolved. It felt a little bit unapproachable. You know, it was very pristine in a way that how the old identity looked. But yeah, at the same time, it felt like we were it felt like it drew an invisible line between us and the consumer, which is very unlike us in personality. You know, we're very embracing people. So then I think that's sort of like, once the value misaligned for us personally, it felt like we needed to do something. But that happened over time. It was not like, obviously we sat on it up, because it's as if you're trying to paint a moving ship, right? And the ship is already sailing, it's like too far to go back. It's like, you can't pull back and then say, okay, stop operations, let's rebrand and then we go again. We had to do that while moving. So that was, a lot of things was on the line for us. Yeah, so I think that was one of the main things that sort of triggered it at the start. And of course it came to, I think it was before last year, before 2020, I think somewhere in 2019, he asked me over one of those nights we were having dinner, he said, you know, do we see ourselves doing this for a couple more years? How long more do we see ourselves doing this, you know, at BTV? He said, are you happy doing what you're doing? But at that moment it was really like, it sank, and it's not because I did not enjoy what I was doing. I loved the brand, I was very passionate about it, about the people within, but like I said, the value did not align at some point. And I said, I'm not sure, you know, actually I could not answer that question. So I think at that moment for me, I told him, I said, I think we need to do it soon. If not, we will feel the effects of it. Not just in a consumer perspective. I think that was to us at that point, it was secondary, because we felt like if we didn't put something out we truly believed in, the people will feel it, you know? So yeah, I think that was when we decided to start that whole exercise, you know? Yeah.
That was, I know it's a really odd takeaway, but one of the takeaway is have dinners together.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we do.
It's true.
Yeah, we haven't had dinner together for
we have
a year.
together.
Oh yeah, okay. We haven't had dinner together for a long time, so I think that's a good takeaway.
Yes, actually, that's something it's very hard, honestly, especially when you see each other all the time, right? Even for us, we see each other all the time, and we have kids, right? It's like, oh my goodness, all that noise. I mean, we love them, just for the record, we love our kids, right? Of course.
Yeah.
But that noise just gets to it, you know. So he was very strict about it. You know what? We're taking one day out for dinner. Let's do it. No excuses. If we had something important at the day, we'll move it to another day of the week. You know, we have to, even if it was like 1 hour, 2 hours. Most of the time, he has to plug me up from the office because I'm 100% like, "Ooh," you know. He's like, let's go. You know.
Missing the happy hour.
Do you also have a no phone policy during your dinner?
Oh no, we don't have that. So I feel that because I'll be first to admit I am pretty much on my phone most of the time. Not replying to text, but really just feeding off a lot of information.
He likes to read, right?
I read a lot from my phone, and on the topic about one day out a night, it was something that I had to force myself to do because I don't like structure. I like to be above system and structure, but I don't like to be in the structure. But I have to force myself to do it because, like, due to the busy schedule and being parent as well, I find that one of the best gifts that we can give to our children is a healthy marriage, right? And if we don't invest in ourselves, how would they grow up in the kind of environment that we wish for them to grow up to? So we put aside one day. I told my mom, Tuesday night is my date night. I'm going to bring her out. We're just going to have conversations. We're just going to have a meal. But oftentimes, our lives are intertwined with work and life and kids. So all the subjects just come out, you know, and we just have conversation. And this is something that we keep aside. So let's say, for instance, Monday night we'll be doing something else. Tuesday night will be the date night, and then Wednesday night will be, if we in the past we used to meet people at night if we could. Then Thursday will be my family, and then Friday will be our family. We bring the kids out for dinner. You know, so the kids deal better with system and structure. Sure. So there is something more like a routine to them. Yeah, so it's something that we try to implement because sometimes business things can go out of control, right? But if there's little things that we can pull back, formulate a schedule or structure, I think that would be great for life. Yeah.
So yeah, almost not every Friday. Some Fridays I do sign in and see Rebecca, you know,
talk show.
Yeah, her talk show, selling her, launching her new bag or her new collection. So how do you do it? How do you keep up with social media? How do you keep the audience engaged? And I thought this was a really brilliant move on your part to, sell your wares. You want to share that?
Well, honestly, I think the credit is not for me to take. I am really just a showpiece. I think that if he could do it, he would do it, honestly. But I think
my face don't sell. My face, some voice put people to sleep.
I'm not sure that's a great. Well, anyway, he was the one that prompted it, honestly. I think it obviously all came about through the whole COVID situation. The stores were closed, people were not shopping, people just didn't, they were all like very low, the morale was not there, right? The global situation was just very damp. So he was obviously, because he reads a lot, he's very in tune to social trends, whatever's happening at the moment. So that time, China was really just starting out, or at least they already started, but it was like suddenly it became this huge thing with live stream that didn't hit this part of us.
Not yet, yeah.
Right, yeah. So he said, hey, let's try something fun. Nobody's doing anything anyway. Why don't we go and do this live stream thing? And I was like, no way. It's like, there's no way I'm going up to do this thing. I was like, I'm not even active on my own social. I was like, you want me to stand in front of like 40,000 people to say something? No, I was like, no, it's not for me. You do it. I was like, you do it, So it was like a back and forth.
There's no back and forth.
Oh yeah, it was just forth.
It was a decision.
It was like,
It's done.
do it. He was like, do it.
No, I was very graciously, I let her some time to sit through, to talk her through, find opportune time to bring conversation across. I said that one of the reasons why we did a rebrand was to peel the layers off ourselves, right? And to put our best, not only best work forward, but to put ourselves forward. But IG Live offers us an opportunity to have a direct and instantaneous conversation with our customer. Why would we, because of our shyness or because of our lack of courage, step forward to do that? Right, like what you say, right? Showing up, right? It's just merely about going onto the screen.
Yeah.
If there's only one person that turns up to the screen, would you do that for that one person? If you would, then the answer is as such.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you finally manage to convince you? And
I just sent her a lot of IG Live, people doing IG Live, and just send her, just watch.
and then you just say, all right, I'm
I
gonna.
think fundamentally, obviously, because I trust him, right? I trust him because it's the same, right, with husband and wife in a business together. There's nobody else I trust as much. So when I know that he says something, it's not that he wants to put me in a spot or to like do something I really don't want to do, but I know that it really is, I trust him, I trust his heart. So I knew that when he suggested something like that, it was really, whether it was that he sees that there is potential in the future or whether he feels like personally it's also good for me to sort of break out of it, because I was very closed up. I was I'm still very introverted, but, to sort of like help me to grow in that way. So I think I did it. That I made that call, answering your question, was in knowing and trusting that he has got my back. That was really why I did it. And then of course after that then he started sending me all these all these live stream things. Hey, this person, or like this, like China ones. The China ones are like,
Wow.
they're so out
good.
there.
Yeah.
They're so out there.
Yeah.
They're really good, and the West concerned about copyright.
But
The East concerned about copying it right. so both is the same. We're just copying each other in a way. I mean, not copying each other, but just innovating, just bringing what
building upon.
Yeah.
building upon each other.
But you did that. I mean, you did this whole design diplomacy thing, which I watched, honestly. I was very because that was before we did our IG Live, because you did it during lockdown.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Versus we couldn't do that because it was lockdown. We can only do it after we went into phase 2, I think.
So tell us more about that. Why did you study? Was it a conversation that both of you had?
And was it
or
difficult?
was it something that you want to help the local creatives or the creative people at large?
I mean, collectively, because I think 2019 we didn't really do anything community-wise, and we're always interested to like connect and engage, right? And then actually, I have to give credits to my team, one of the designer they are all very interested in like engagement with the community,
Connecting,
like
yeah.
education, all that.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, why don't we do something during the lockdown? And anyways, everyone's at home, right? So I got to speak at one of the IG talk also, organized by a European friend. But I realized that their format was mostly the European and Americans. I felt like there wasn't a platform for Asians. So okay,
Yeah.
maybe you can do the same thing. I hate copying, but I'm just building a
We're
product.
copying it, right?
Copying it right.
Right, yeah. So okay, let's just do it. But we're just gonna feature Asian-based designers, and we want to give them a voice. And true enough, I mean, after that whole episode,
I loved it, honestly.
everyone got connected, and I realized like this Chinese wait.
I watched one in Beijing. There was a Beijing one.
Yeah.
Or a Shanghai one.
I remember
or
a
something.
Korean, my friends, they invited one of the Malaysian type designer to speak at the college class.
Wow.
So that was great because
Yeah.
they discovered,
Yes.
like, oh, Malaysia also have
Yes,
type
yes,
designers.
yes.
And I love that whole interaction where people started to understand, uncover, like, there are people in Asia
Yeah.
that do design.
Yeah, yeah.
And they do it well.
Yeah.
So I think our next challenge is to uncover designers from countries like Cambodia,
Yes.
more from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think we did a good job in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So yeah, hoping to unravel more.
Yeah.
Maybe I can jump in. Since the both of you, in your own ways, have done IG Live, have done talks, is there something that you would encourage the audience if, let's say, they want to start out something to do with facing the screen or like any like holding a mic? What is one key thing that got you going? What's one key thing that keep you going?
To be honest, when I first started speaking on a speaking circuit, I'm kind of in there right now. It was not a natural thing for me. Like yourself, I have not been a public speaker for. Actually, Arthur is a great public speaker.
Yes, he's very calm.
He's very
like-
calm
yes,
and
he's
very he can convince and he can
Yeah.
persuade and he can charm and he
Absolutely.
This is all
That's how he got
going,
you,
going
right?
into the.
That's where the film crew was snip.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
yeah, I got my first chance.
It's
when
a
I came
natural.
back, to speak in one of the Design Society thing. I think that was like my most nervous platform, opportunity to speak ever. And I was glad I had that opportunity. Then I look back, building upon my learnings, I just got better. And with the last few years of constantly going around and speaking, it's just something that got very natural.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that it can be learned.
Comes
and
with
trained
practice,
and
do you feel?
practiced. So it's yes, you do have to overcome your shyness
Yeah.
to get yourself out of the shell. But I feel like it's really important to have that engagement,
Yeah.
whether it's through IG or some kind of digital
Yeah.
platform. Especially like now where everything is so limited,
Yeah.
traveling, personal meetings.
Yeah.
The more you should get beyond,
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think it's particularly difficult. I mean, if I can do it and you say you do it, so hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think everyone can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel it's important for creatives, honestly, to
Yeah.
have that flow
Yes.
in a way, because a lot of creatives were very input, right? So I think when we sort of like have a sudden exchange with another creative, or whether in the same industry or a different industry, I think that the outpouring and the receiving and there's really the energy in that the transition, right, of whether information or human interaction. Like I feel like it does great, rather than just sort of like keeping it,
True.
in a way.
Yeah. It's not like you have a lot of output, right? Every day you're like giving your ideas away. But I think you need a place where you can get inflow as well.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like brain food,
Yeah.
or engagement.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a question. So when you were responding to Rebecca on how you got her to do live streaming, and suddenly I feel that I have an answer to my secret sauce question. I felt that you had an idea of what is important for BTV at that point in time, and you sort of ceded the idea to her. and you let her sort of marinate it, right? And then eventually you propose an idea and she trusts you 100%. Eventually she step up and went way and above and look at where it has taken you guys. So I think the secret sauce is in managing a team. And I wanted to quote this statement that you gave to Harper's Bazaar. Is it Harper's Bazaar's interview? And I quote, on Monday we'll be rounding up the team. On Tuesday, we will have a management meeting. Wednesday will be a review and execution meeting, and so on. So I want to ask you, what is your management style and structure? A lot of your team member kind of stayed with you since the beginning. I think that speaks volume. There's a lot that we can learn. Could you just share some of your secret recipe?
People management.
I think by and large, people management it's very big, and it could be a very scary word to many people, because mixing people and mixing management. I don't think we should manage people. I think we should be people matter. I think that we have a couple of staff that stayed with us for more than 5 years, since we incepted the brand, and then some of them came on, they were 21 when they came with us. They are now 27. Some of them were 26 before they got married. Now they are mother of 2 kids. They stayed with us for a very long time, and I think that during COVID, I remember this very, very clearly. When our retail shop had to close, when business took a hit, right? And pay cut was constantly talked about on the papers, on every company's HR agenda. But I gathered the team and I looked them straight in the eye. Business has dropped 20%. I told them, I am not going to cut your pay. If we can increase business by 20%, I will not cut your pay. But I took a 30% pay cut for about 6 months or more. I was the only person in the company that took a pay cut. I felt that people matter and leadership must lead by example. And leadership is not a top-down. I think that in this time and age, they value community over control. And this is how I do feel that managing a team is not about managing the people, but that people must matter first. And then they reciprocate or not is not up for me to demand that of them. But it is my value that should show them, hey, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way how it's getting done. I do not slack on any demands. My demands can be quite high, but yet at the same time, I'm willing to go down to whatever level they are to bring them up to whatever level that we want them to be. I feel that then itself, if I break down these 2 words, that would be something that how I interpret people management. So by far and large, I feel that culture, people, things that like something that Becky is really good at, Shiri, which I'm really, really poor at. She formulated a community team. Remembers everyone's birthday. Not only staff, their kids' birthday, their spouse birthday, their anniversary, their whatnot. I don't know. She's good at it, right? So anniversary was like, anniversary was a company sent. What is this? We pay money, No, but yeah. So
Cue to cut.
yeah, but I think that I hope that answers the question. I do not know if I deviate too far. I think people matter to me, whether are they working with us or they So we still have staff that have left us, pursue other venture. They still come back with us on occasion like Christmas to celebrate. In the past, before 8 was a problem, before 9 was a problem. Sorry. Yeah.
But you guys have that. You guys have like people coming back as well, right? Is that answering your question?
Yes, yes.
Or do you want something like in a structural, more like?
I think that is a very good response because it covers
That's
the
a value system. That's his
and
value
the philosophy
system.
behind it. I'm also curious about structure, right? Because there's a creative side of the business and then there's the business, right? And typically they need to kind of go in tandem. And I know you hold a very lonely job just like me.
We can have coffee.
Where
We get more
you know,
coffee. Yeah.
where you know the stress does pile up when you know the numbers doesn't add up and all of that. But beyond that, I guess there's also this sort of system and culture that you put in place, right? You want to share a little bit maybe about what makes BTV sort of hum along?
I think that systems are not, or at least we look at it that way, is not meant to put people in a box, but systems drive behavior. Do you know what I mean? So when the systems are in place, because also we are a creative atmosphere at the store, at the studio, being able to sort of like have the environment is important, because obviously we also want to attract the creatives, whether they do logistics and the non-creative jobs. We want creative people. Do you know what I mean? So
I think maybe jumping on people like what we discussed earlier about kids liking routine and system. We also develop systems in the office. Like for instance, Monday is a team meeting, Tuesday is morning creative meeting, afternoon logistics meeting, and so on and so forth. Then Wednesday we will check in with their progress. You know, like what are the actionable steps and how can we guide them? How can we? So basically 3 points. I will tell you where I want to go. Your job is to tell me how to get there, and then our conversation will be, okay, what do you need to get there? You know, and then that is how we formulate meetings, and then the staff know when to catch us. On this day, they will catch us on certain topic. Otherwise, it will be just too many topics floating around the company, managing from finance to creative to operation to logistics to customer, and the list goes on, right? And we don't have brain space for everything in a day. So it helps us as well to categorize department on individual days, on individual timing. So it's fixed, and we have a like asana to track which meeting is which day, and then they know that they're coming in for the particular meeting, so that the agenda will be set. You know, and we try to practice a little bit of corporate style, not like a mom and pop shop, so that it helps guide people. And some people thrive with system, but I don't. Yeah.
I think quite similar. I mean, we also try to use tech tools to help us. And it's Slack. We don't use Asana, we use Productive. We'll see how it goes, because sometimes we change our tools, because some tools are better than the others.
Yeah, I think also depends on what works for the team,
Exactly.
right? Also, So
Does that answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I like the way you sort of broke it down. Basically, it set a goal, but I'm not technically providing you the solution on how to get there. You let me know. And I think that's very helpful. And then let's try to figure that out together.
Yeah.
But that's a very simple but very effective formula.
Yeah, it's also empowering. I think it comes from a place of being able to empower, you know, versus 100% micromanaging. Yeah,
Anyway,
so
time, right?
yes, correct. So I think that
I think not for
he
her not
believes
like
he believes a lot.
If she has that bandwidth, she will do it.
Oh.
So in by far and large philosophically, I think that we need to understand that leadership and management are very different roles. Right? Leadership provides vision, management provides the direction. So we need to understand which role we play at times to the people around us. So it helps them to grow, and people matter. Yeah.
So yes, which was the reason why I had another question is, where do you find the time to think?
MySpace.
Mindspace. Well, Daniel's very good at that. He has mastered the skill of that. He's very, very good at it. I think it's the way that he copes with stress as well, right? We're totally the opposite in that way. When he feels the pressure, he feels the stress, he knows when to stop. And then he will sort of like, it's like a peripheral thinking, right? He pulls himself out, he does something else that sort of neutralizes, and then he sort of like, then it's like that moment is like, oh, okay, he comes back, he's like, let's do this, I was like, where did you go? Where is this place that you went with all this like ideas, right?
Yeah.
But he just sort of like, I think the ability to pull himself out. So he does that pretty well, whether it is like just to have a coffee, roam,
No, I'll just go to my
gym
Facebook.
or you
Oh,
know.
Facebook is your inspiration.
But he leaves
No,
though.
not-
Sometimes he sort of like steps
I
out.
step out. I like,
Yeah,
but
he needs to step out.
I read a lot of articles on Facebook. It's just to deviate my thought away from the situation. So her method is to punch and punch and punch through
Yeah.
until the wall breaks. For me, I will go and I will
Or end
step
up
out,
bleeding.
You walk around the wall.
At least she didn't say I walk through the wall. That's like a proper
He finds a
thrill.
hole, then he starts. Oh.
No, actually, I just go and find a drill.
Yeah.
You go wing, find a drill, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're quite different that way. I think for me, I struggle with that, honestly, that headspace part. I struggle with that. He needs to constantly remind me that I need to break out, I need to step out, you know, just to get a fresh perspective. So that's my struggle. But for him, he's the other opposite, actually. He has no issue sort of like disconnecting for a short while and coming back with a fresh perspective. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm struggling with now. Because in the past, I can wake up at 4 and do my run and it kind of clears my mind. I can figure things out. Or I can get in here by 6. I can do my thing. And it becomes crystal clear
Yeah.
what are some of the things I need to do. But
Yeah.
these days, it's not possible because by the time I sleep at 11:30, I'm like so flat out.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
the time I open my eyes, it's like 7:30.
You have to go,
Yeah,
right?
you have
It's
to
like-
go.
yeah.
So, yeah, there's no mind space for me.
Yeah.
What I personally like is I like to involve my kids in my schedule. Also partially because when I grew up, I wanted to be so much in my parents' schedule. What are they thinking? What are they doing? So growing up, I have always liked to be involved with what my parents are doing, what are they thinking, and my parents always like, oh, this is not for small children, and I felt very distant from them because as parents, we are our kids' first hero, right? And getting them involved. So what we do is that with Ollie, he comes to office at about 4:30, and I will let him talk to any staff. He can do anything in the office. He can just roam around. He can pack. He can draw. He can watch video. He can talk to anyone, and mostly he talks to people around, and our colleagues will just spend time with him. And I thought that I feel that I do not want to create a schedule out of my schedule to accommodate the kids apart from the weekend. But on the weekday, they need to fit into my schedule. And I feel that I've seen him grow a lot. Just by coming to office, interacting with adults, knowing what to pack, knowing what room is meeting room, what room is not, what room he's outbound. It's formulate a certain thinking for him.
Yeah.
And I think that children are like wet sponge.
Yes.
Right, are like sponge, sorry. You need to run them through water for them to absorb. So creating an environment and atmosphere for them to be involved is something that I highly prioritize. Yeah, so I don't make schedule away from them to teach them something else. For instance, right now, because he's still about 4 years old. He's in a playgroup. I do not want to be too forthcoming on education, but I want him to pick up things from his sight, from his hearing, right, from him touching
Like
things.
interaction.
Yeah, I'm going. Papa, I'm going to the office today. Say, yeah, okay, I want to talk to aunties. So this is like he call our colleagues, Auntie Celeste, Auntie Rachel. So he knows who to go to for what. So I thought that is quite a good experience for as a child, because it's something that I feel that I personally lacked growing up, and I feel that if I could extend that to my kid, that would be great.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because when I was growing up, I remember going to my father's office and I was like, running around. I
Yeah.
love that actually.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, like I do feel, because I mean, we get asked this, or I get asked this a lot. I mean, not being trained in the industry at all, how did it even, I know there are a lot of people who have no contact with creative environments, but still are extremely effective. But I do tell people that I think one of the reasons for me in a training in I way was because I grew up in the environment, my dad's workshop. So my parents obviously both 100% work together also, and then they run their own thing. So mom picks us up from school and then comes back to the office and they continue their schedule. They just leave us there, whether we interact with people, do our own thing, eat our own lunch, oh, I want to play this, I cut up stuff, stick things together. But we're always in the environment, and then we watch how
And but they are always
adults,
watching.
yeah, they're always watching, but we as kids watch how adults interact, what do they do, what's going on, why are they having a meeting in a room. So I think that sort of like trains a child's way of mind, being in that kind of environment. So I think we intentionally bring our kids into that. Obviously, during the high hours of the day, they're at school, right? But once it's 4:35, we bring them back here, and then we continue for maybe an hour to about 6:30, then we go for dinner. So that they sort of have a little bit of a taste of like what this thing, because it is important to us what we do, right? Like what we do at BTV is important to us. We spend a lot of time there, a lot of our energy. So we want them to also, when he grows up, also know, I know what my parents do, I know what kind of work they do, you know, so.
I think it's more, for me, what's important is to develop thinking skills. Like when Ollie comes and asks me, Papa, what are you doing? I will put aside things and I'll explain to him what I'm doing. I'll explain to him my thought process so that this formulates breadcrumbs to him when he meets certain objection in life, certain things in life, certain roadblocks in life that this is what my papa has done. So it's to develop thinking process that I feel that he is privileged that because we run the business, we allow him to come to the office, you know, and I would just want to expose him towards more of environment and situation like this. Yeah.
So as soon as he can read a set of accounts, can you just send him our way? 4:30 is not a problem for me. I do need a bit of help.
We will have a chat. Yeah, but I'm not too sure. But I feel that he's a bit of a hybrid. It's too early to tell. Maybe kids are like that, you know, they like to explore more, they're creative, and I try not to shoot them down, you know. They let them explore, let them talk, and you know.
Yeah.
So that'd be good. How do you resolve your differences in terms of thinking? Like, what do you do if, let's say, the discussion get a little bit heated, you know, and what are the ways that you resolve, and how do you come to a common agreement? Because clearly, thinkings are different, right? So,
I think from the beginning, we've set ourselves like roles, like I'll be running the creative, so anything like creatively that we might have differences, then I'll make the final call. And same for like anything financial, we will make the final call. So I think that's always been like the guiding principle. But sometimes, actually many times, I would still consult him on creative matters because he does have a good eye and he has good exposure. He knows what's going on. So sometimes you're too, involved in your design and you have too many choices. And he would be a really, really great person to like give you perspective and I see where you're going. And then he helps you
Has there been a time that there was a need to take a bias? You know, like maybe even if it was like
a compromise?
Yeah, in a way, you know.
Like
you felt very strongly about certain things, but maybe in terms of like a business or a financial side, and you felt like, okay, but you sort of like let it maybe...
I think I have, probably. Yeah. Because I ultimately, he's a very logical and reasonable person. So when things are, he will always explain, and then of course, there's a part of me saying, but I don't really agree, but okay, let's go.
So this is where he tries to convince.
He's very calm, man.
He's very calm.
Lord, why you give me this woman? She doesn't see my wisdom. What is this?
I'm sure there's frustration. I'm sure there's
That's so calm, man. Logical,
This is very filtered.
I'm sure so. Of course, we are very headstrong about our own opinions as well, but I think we'll give each other space and time to think about it, and then we come about. Then sometimes I'll think into it. Yeah, I think maybe he's right. Yeah.
For me, it's quite simple. If that's a case, I'll put it. If I feel very strongly about it, I'll put it across very strongly.
Yeah, I think so.
And then there's one decision maker, and that's her. Right? So even I could be, there's a point of view that I could have a very, very, very strong view, and I'll make it clear that I have a very strong view about it. But then the decision I just leave it on her lap. You decide.
But when the outcome comes out?
We have to take responsibility for the decisions we decide. Whoever makes the decision, if it's bad, it's bad. Or if it's good, then great. Yeah, so I think we are adult about this, so it's okay. Yeah, sometimes it's not 100% all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think after also trust my guts. So he will always come and ask me,
Yes.
yeah, like, you know, like, okay, money matters also. He's like, you know, I have this number, what do you think? Then he will let me feel it.
One more zero and another zero.
So
It's true.
I
It's
think he
true.
feels more comfortable when my number is like close to his number. That's kind of what I'm thinking also. And then he will like go for. So yeah, I think that's how we balance it, each other.
Awesome.
Never mess with a woman's intuition.
Never.
So I think that's how we do. How about you guys?
I think fundamentally we tell ourselves that both of us mean well for the company and wants to the best for the company. So we never doubt the intention. The ways could be corrected in terms of like thinking or like thought process or how we do it. It could be corrected, but I think fundamentally the idea shouldn't shift from it. Shouldn't doubt the idea of like both of our intention is making the place a better place, wherever we may be. But I do see her on different level, especially maybe because I'm a guy, maybe talking about like putting my feet down or whatsoever. Like I see her as my business partner, as my wife, you know, as someone that like my best friend. So I need to differentiate the different times or different action that she's doing. So when I see her as my business partner telling me things, I cannot see her as my wife telling me something. Then my reaction would be very different. Right? Because wife, of course, you deal with familiarity, something that you're familiar with. You must be telling me this because you're familiar with me. But if my business partner were to tell me that, would I react the same way? So this is something that I feel that not all times I try to keep, but it's just in terms of value-wise, I try to
felt like
remind
that worked for
myself,
us, yeah.
and it works for us. You know, like okay, she's coming from the point of a business partner, and she is not talking to me as my wife. So it's not that I need to like, you know, I need to put out my ego and have a conversation with her, decent conversation, you know. So I feel that works out for me. But what about you?
No, absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. I think the ability to see at which point on
Or each role?
in each role, at which role he's also undertaking at that moment, whether it is based on a financial perspective or based on like a company at large, or whether he tells me as a husband that he cares for me, like, hey, time to take a break. But like, you know, it really is like at which role does he adopt when he says different things to me. Then I think that has, obviously it doesn't happen all the time that we're able to decipher, because when you're in that moment is, you know, but that we felt like that has worked for us, like, especially with a working couple. Like if not, it gets tough because the lines get gray, you know, and you do share the same house, the same bed with the person. So it gets tricky at that part, you know. So I think being able to see the different roles that we play and when each of us are executing different roles, it helps to sort of like ease it lah. Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, just nudge them in the middle of the night. Oh, I didn't do that.
Pull the blanket, you know.
But I think having a good mentor help.
Yes.
Someone who mentor the business, mentor your life. It gives a fresh perspective, and I feel that. I mean, apart from living a life larger than ourselves, we need someone who has been through, has gone through, has certain thinking to speak into our lives, and we must allow that to happen. Especially as entrepreneurs, we cannot be too closed up. Being open, also be mindful of who you interact with and who you associate with. I feel that that's something that's very important to me. I chase after mentors, and I really hold on to them from my personal life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you want to ask?
No,
Thanks, guys.
So I mean, did I talk too much?
Great.
we have a lot of fun. We hope
have
that you have just as much fun. We'll talk a little bit more about your mentors. I think that's also quite an interesting topic to delve into. But thank you for showing up today.
Of course, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and today our wardrobe is by Beyond the Vines.
Thanks, guys. You guys are so sweet.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
for
guys.
coming
Thanks for having
this
us.
morning.
It's a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.